going to go through some of the questions that like we did. And if we screw up, we can do another time. This is not like a finals test, and believe me, I'm still learning how to do this. Okay. All right. So, all right. Well, welcome everybody. I'm Dr. Debbie Robbe, and this is called Team Meeting. And the reason why I want to have this conversation is for years, I sat on the other side of the desk and watched my student athletes do so well during eligibility. And then at the end, there was this struggle with identity shift because there was a belongingness on campus, and then all of a sudden there wasn't. And so I wanted to make sure nobody had to go through that again, that I kept seeing. And I advised my students before and after. And so I know you're this awesome group of people and you're ready to lead and make so many great things happen. So let's have a conversation. Let's solve these problems. Let's keep going. Let's have a team meeting. And today it is my greatest honor to have the famous Emily Clay interview. Full disclosure, she was one of my students, one of my favorites. And welcome, Emily, and thank you for spending a little time. I know you're very busy.
No, thanks for having me.
Okay, so first, let's have everybody know who you are. Where did you go to school? What sport did you play? What was your major? Give us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I am born and raised in Georgia. I went to the University of Georgia State and went and played softball there for 4 years, graduated in 2015, and my degree is in economics with a minor in hospitality administration.
Awesome. Okay, I think that's a good idea. And so what position did you play?
So I was a pitcher.
Okay.
A PO, pitcher only.
And how did you get why did you start playing softball?
Yeah, so I was one of those kids that my parents tried me in every sport and a lot of different activities, ballet, tap, jazz, gymnastics, you name it. Nothing was really clicking. And then my father one day was, let's just try t-ball. And so started out, really took on to it, picked it up really quick and grew and grew and grew. And then I was the tallest girl on the team. And so the tallest girl just automatically becomes the pitcher most of the times. And
yeah, oh, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, so slowly started taking lessons, picked up the skills, and then played a lot of travel ball all across the country, was very blessed to be able to play for a very high competitive team. And then that is where I was seen by college coaches, and I got a full ride, an offer to Georgia State. And yeah, that's how that went.
Okay, so what is your favorite part about softball?
Oh, well, I would say for a pitcher, it was being in the middle of everything,
Okay.
kind of being in control of the game, and just having that pressure on your shoulders of, if they get a home run, then that's on me. If they hit, one to the fence, that's on me. If they strike out, that's on me. It's great, but yeah, just having a say in pretty much every play of the game.
Okay.
That was my favorite part.
That you don't shy away from responsibility.
Oh no.
Okay, good. Okay, that's excellent. Okay, what was your favorite game?
Oh.
And it could be high school or college. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I would say my favorite game being at Georgia State was when we played University of Alabama. I think it was my freshman year. Now it's all kind of blurring together. It was either my freshman or sophomore year, I can't remember. But that year they ended up winning the World Series. They'd only lost 6 games the entire year, and we came to their field, beat them. It was wild. I think at that time it was the first win in Georgia State history over like the highest, the number 1 ranked team within the sport and all that stuff. So it was pretty special. That was a good bus ride home from Tuscaloosa.
I do remember listening to that one. That is wonderful. So, okay. So I want to go through, you graduated in what year?
2015.
Okay, 15. So you've gone through the, what do I do? How do I do this? So let's start with maybe like your freshman year. what was that transition like from, how hard was it to go from high school to college? What was that, and being a student athlete?
I would say, like a lot of college kids, and especially student athletes, I think freshman year is probably your hardest year. I know for me personally, it was going from being one of the best players on my high school team, and within my county and all that stuff, to then switching gears to being on the bottom of the totem pole. At the same time, having to go through this, the struggles of getting into college and
Yeah.
figuring out how to study and figuring time management skills and having all of this freedom, yet at the same time not, and having a very rigorous, schedule, and just figuring out how to do all of that without your parents being there, without someone constantly telling you what to do. I think that is the biggest hurdle for an 18-year-old to figure out.
Yeah.
Looking back now, being almost 30, it's kind of crazy how you can be able to navigate that and figure
Right.
it out. And some people unfortunately can't, because it is a lot of stress,
Sure.
to get that down pat. But at my school, we did have a lot of help, with advisors and our coach and whatnot. But it is a lot on the student athlete to figure it out.
Did you ever consider quitting?
Oh yes. I will never forget. It was after my freshman year. We had just finished conference, and I came back. We're still in the dorms, and I was packing up my dorm, and I was just did not want to do this anymore. It was so hard. I wanted to be back at home. I was a very big homebody at the time, and I remember calling my dad, telling him, like, I can't do this. I don't want to do it. It's so hard, blah, blah, blah. And he gave me some tough love. And he said, you were lucky enough and blessed enough to get this opportunity to play at a D1 school, and get your college paid for. You're either going to do it here or you're going to do it somewhere else. So you need to figure it out. And I was like, well, I'm not going to transfer because that's not fun. And got myself together during that summer and came back to school. And honestly, after that, it was smooth sailing. It was the best 3 years after that of my entire life.
That's wonderful. Okay, so what was your favorite class at Georgia State?
Oh, well, not to be biased, but all of my hospitality classes,
Okay.
were definitely my favorite. Even though they weren't, that was the major that I originally thought I was going to be. I thought I wanted to plan weddings. I thought I wanted to, do that, get into that field, until I attended a wedding for the first time and realized I did not want to do that.
Well, it's kind of hard. It's really kind of hard. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So I'm still very interested. I really liked, the hotel aspect of hospitality. And I thought that's kind of what I wanted to get into, and more corporate events and whatnot. But yeah, no, I enjoyed the hospitality classes the most because they were just so hands-on, and just, a lot of real life examples that I could be like, oh, okay, I understand how this works. I see how my schooling is playing a part of this. Where all the other classes are kind of just in the books, and it's not real world to me.
So you enjoyed learning by tactile, meaning I have a goal, I can see a goal. Here's the goal I have to in real life. Not only there was theory, but there was always a real life application to it that you were fully participating, right? Kind of like sports, right? Kind of
Right.
like, okay.
Oh,
All
yeah.
right. So I want to ask you what it was like after, like, eligibility, as you were a senior. Kind of what did that feel like in the preparation to be out after sports?
Yeah, I remember having kind of an aha moment about a week after. Me and two of my teammates decided that we wanted to stay in Atlanta, and we wanted to rent a apartment together. And so we go, we start that whole process. We're immediately after we graduate, we go on a trip together. And when I get back from the trip, like, okay, how are we going to pay for this? Being in Atlanta is not cheap. And, even back then it was still, very expensive. And I had applied to a lot of jobs. Nothing was coming through, absolutely no hits, no nothing. I didn't apply very well, looking back on it now. And it really hit me like, oh my gosh, okay, I don't have anyone to fall back on. I don't have my stipend coming in anymore. I don't have anyone to ask, for help other than my parents, but they're very much in the working world. It's, just go find a job. And it's easier said than done because there are so many jobs out there that it becomes overwhelming. I feel like,
Right.
I know for me personally, I was just, I don't even know which direction to go in to, get the job that I want to get, nor do I even know what job I want.
Right. Right.
So it was very overwhelming, to go from structured days of getting up, working out, going to class, going to study hall, going to practice, going to a game, whatever. My days were so in line to, okay, I'm waking up and what do I do? Until I found a job.
So did your friends, any of your teammates, did you all talk about this? It's like, doesn't it feel weird? Did you just kind of stumble through it on your own?
Yeah, so I was living with two girls that I graduated with as well. One of them pretty much immediately went into grad school. And then the other one was already pretty successful with bartending. She had been a bartender and she was making, very, very good money in it being in Atlanta. So she was just kind of doing that and having fun with that. And I think her ultimate goal was to go into grad school at some point. And, so they were kind of just coasting in the sense of that way. No one was really like, okay, I want to get a hardcore job, in a sense. And for me personally, I didn't want to do any more schooling.
Right.
School, it was
Yeah.
always very difficult for me. I had to study, ridiculous amounts just to pass stuff. But I had no desire to do that. So I'm like, I need to find a career. I need to find a job, that's gonna pay the bills.
So what was your first job?
So lucky enough, I was, when I got off that cruise for my senior trip, I had an email from you, Deb. And
Oh, I was the first.
yes.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
And I had an email from you saying, hey, this guy is looking to hire someone. He is a past student. Send me your resume.
Yeah.
And so I did, and a month worth of interviews with him. I got my first job and I am there still today. So I just celebrated 7 years with that job. Career, it is a career, I will say. So yeah, no, that was besides working during the summers in college, that was my first job and still is my first job.
So what do you do?
So I am in sales for a trade show company. So we do trade shows all over the country, all different types of shows in all different industries. And I do sales for the booth sales, like finding the customers. I also do a lot of prospecting, finding new people to come into our shows and just stuff like that. So yeah, I'm in sales pretty much.
So what things do you use from either that you can relate or reframe of when you were in practice or you were prepping for a game or in a game or dealing with teammates that you use every day? And then follow that. Do you find yourself a leader, kind of naturally a leader amongst, maybe you don't have all the experience they do, but do you find yourself as kind of ending up taking that responsibility, like you mentioned, pitching and being a leader?
Yeah, so for me in my sales role, we aren't, I don't just get leads is what they call them, hot people coming in ready just to buy something. So for my sales, they take a lot of prep. Some of these sales I'm working on for an entire year to close. And to kind of compare that to softball, it's kind of like learning a new pitch. I'm a pitcher. It just doesn't come easy, and
Right.
having to hone that skill of how to get my drop ball. Am I gonna tweak my finger this way a little bit to get it go this way? Am I gonna shorten my stride a little bit to do this? And in sales, for me, over the years, how I've perfected my sales is changing my emails, changing, if I do a different subject line in this email, is it going to grab someone's attention? If I start a phone call with, a different intro to a potential client, will they be more interested in me and interested in coming to our show? So I think knowing how to tweak and grow as I did during my softball career, from being a 12-year-old pitcher to being a 22-year-old pitcher, even and then in my sales journey, I think I started this job when I was 22, 23 to now, just being more comfortable, and just how it all goes with doing things for multiple years. You get more comfortable and whatnot, but I will say being a leader on the field for pitching definitely plays into a lot of being in sales as well. You have to take so much initiative during the day, especially for mine. I don't have an email box just full of people begging to be in my show, so I have to go out there and look for them and hunt for them and do all these things to be successful, because if I'm not selling, then I'm not getting paid, and if I'm not getting paid, I'm not going to be here. So it takes a lot of initiative, where back in softball it took a lot of initiative to practice, to better yourself, because if you're not doing that, you're not going to get on the field.
Right. Right. Okay, I get it. And do you feel like you're able to handle crisis?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
I would say, being in sports for at any level, there's always going to be something that's out of your control.
Right.
And especially in pitching, if pitching is a game of, centimeters. If I throw a pitch and it catches too much of the plate, I might get my shins hit,
Right.
and so just going into games, knowing that you have to just fully be in the moment, and working hard and doing all that stuff. Same with being in the workforce. You can't just take days off, where other than vacation days, but
right,
you can't just sit here and expect things to come in. And then when, especially and to your point about crisis, in the events industry, as there's always something happening. For my job, and when I'm on site, someone's booth doesn't get delivered properly, someone's setup isn't correct, or this or that, and you have to be on your feet, ready to fix the problem. Where I'll be in a game and my drop ball is not working. I've got to know in my mind, in this moment, I've got to change something, because if not, I'm going to give up home runs.
Okay. Yeah. So what would you, where was the kind of the light bulb, that moment for you, or whatever you want to call it, that it was, I do have a lot of experience from sports that's helping me? Or did that ever really occur to you or do you naturally just take your experience from sports into this career?
I think the beginning part of it was when I was getting interviewed with my boss. He knew my background. He knew that other than working at a deli for some of my summers during school, the only thing I've ever done in my life is played sports. So it really was kind of eye-opening when he was interviewing me, instead of asking, at your last job, how did you handle this situation? How did you handle dealing with an employee that was hard to work with, or, whatever the question may be, he would relay it to sports. So on your last team, how did you deal with conflict? How did you deal with, all these different types of situations? And I can't remember all of them, but there was a lot of different ways that he would say this. And I'm like, oh, I do know how to handle conflict. I do know how to manage my schedule and time. Time management is so huge in college, and it's just as huge in the real world.
Yeah. It is.
So I think he was kind of the beginning catalyst of me realizing, like, oh, okay, I can do this. I can be successful in a job, and I have, the beginning start, parts of these tools in order to do that. Because I think a lot of trouble with athletes is we don't have time to have full-time jobs, or
Right.
even hardly part-time jobs, especially
Yes.
during the year. So it's hard turning in a resume when you don't have experience on there,
Right.
and you don't have experience that pertains to what you're applying to.
Right.
So that, yeah.
So, what would you tell the Emily Clay that was graduating in 2015, or the freshman Emily Clay, both of those perspectives, what would you tell her now?
Just to be confident in yourself. I think sports, especially, pitching, it takes a lot of confidence just to get out there and do it. But at the same time, like, I think you can kind of get in like an imposter situation where I'm on the field, I'm this person, I'm off the field, I don't know what's going on. I don't know how to navigate all of these classes, and I feel, out, it's just the hardness of college. And
Right.
you just, I remember feeling so small during school and during classes that I struggled with and whatnot. And then you'd have to go be on the field and be, larger than life, because you can't not be confident on the field.
Right.
And I feel like the same, once I graduated and I didn't have that identity anymore of being an athlete. I'm just, okay, I'm Emily. No one genuinely cares what I did prior. All of my coworkers are 30, 40, 50, 60 years old. And I'm a 22-year-old kid that's worked at Ingles. That's all that I've ever done in my life compared to them. How am I going to measure up? How am I going to make a name for myself? And I think looking back now, it's like how, when you started high school playing sports, when you started college playing sports, you had to make a name for yourself.
Right.
And that's how a job is. You go in there, you're honest. You don't say, oh, I can do all of these things, when you can't, but I can learn. And
Okay.
I'm willing to learn. And then
Right.
just keep moving.
So how did you become kind of your own coach?
I think it's in those dire needs of, I don't have anyone else to talk to except myself. And I was so set on not asking for help from my parents financially, and
Right.
not needing support to, I made this decision to stay in Atlanta and to do all these things. I'm like, I want to do it.
Sure.
And I think that was, a big driving force of then starting my own inner dialogue with myself of, okay, let's figure this out. How are you got to learn how to use Excel better, and this and that, and taking things home. And I just remember, my first few months of work, taking notes and, what's an exhibitor, what's an attendee, all these different things, and keeping it all and going home and practicing how to do my job.
Right.
Because I knew that's it, unless I'm going to go find another job. I don't have anything to fall back on.
Right. Okay. So, do you, I was trying to figure out, what do you miss most about playing?
I would say my teammates, the camaraderie of just always having someone there, having 20 plus people that are going through the exact same things, going through the hard tests, the breakups with your boyfriends and girlfriends, and heartache of that, and Just we're all going through the same thing, life changing, turning 21, 22,
Right.
however old we were. Just so many huge milestones, and getting to go through that with other people that fully understand you and are right there with you.
Do you keep in contact with many of your teammates?
Yes, I still have probably 6 or 7 of my
Yeah.
teammates that pretty much talk to every other week, if not every week. I have a couple of friends that we talk to almost every single day.
Good. Okay.
And
All right.
vacation and do everything together.
So if you had a message for college athletic departments, what would it be to help you in this transition?
I would to actually help. I think there is a lot of emphasis on helping student athletes while they're in school, getting you the tutoring that you need. Like, we're never going to leave you in the dark of if you're struggling with the class. There's always going to be some type of resource to help you. And that was great. But other than a random college fair here or there, or excuse me, not college fair, work fair here or there, to go up to a random booth and grab a piece of paper when I'm not confident in myself, and now I'm gonna, just go do
Right.
this, going through the motion. I don't remember there being a lot of help. I think if they could spend more one-on-one time with these graduating seniors,
Okay.
and if not, if anything, the juniors, and go ahead and start, because you're already in your major. Even if you're not going to use your major, which I didn't,
Right.
you kind of have already started kind of, thinking of what makes me happy, what
Right.
I want to do.
Right.
And they should have, especially being in Atlanta, for myself personally, there is every type of corporation you can
Right.
imagine here in Atlanta.
Mhm.
We have to have some type of connection to these people to at
Right.
least kind of get you in the door.
Right.
somewhere.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Start a
Mhm.
conversation, get one
Right.
interview. After you do the first interview, you can interview for anything, but
Right.
it is nerve-wracking.
It is. It is. It is. Yeah. And so, um, do you, if you had to do it all over again, would you play sports again in college?
Oh, without a doubt.
Okay.
Without a doubt.
Okay.
With
All right.
all of it, with all of the hard workouts, running till you throw up, I think it added, looking back now, it added more to my life than I ever could have gotten out of it than just being a normal student, in my opinion.
Well, I enjoy sports, so I enjoyed it. But I know you're very busy. You've got to get back to your sales and building your Emily Clay empire. But I really appreciate this. And until next time, we'll have another team meeting.